I'm doing a seminar telling my story one day in Los Angeles, California, and in my audience walks a young man, 19 years old, and his name is Mark Hughes. I knew him from age 19 to age 44. It's true, I was his first mentor. I shared with Mark my experience as a health and nutrition distributor, starting at the bottom and going to the top. I shared with him what I thought about this type of marketing, person to person. And I'm sure Mark used some of that when he put the products together, started the company in 1980. So I was a bit of a counselor to Mark Hughes, his first mentor. Once in a while in his testimonial, here's what he used to say: Jim Rohn was the first person that gave me the idea that in spite of my background and poor circumstances and lack of education, in spite of all of that, I could make changes and become successful. Jim Rohn was the first person. When he attended my seminar, I started sharing those ideas of personal development. When Mark sat in that first seminar, here's what I shared: you can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. If you just remain how you are, you'll always have what you've got. But if you're willing to make changes, the next 5 years of your life can be totally different than the last 5. If you don't change, chances are excellent the next 5 will be like the last 5. Those philosophies I shared with Mark. Make this note now: Mark Hughes, during the time he knew Jim Rohn, Mark Hughes taught me much more than I taught him. The 3 major influences in the life of Mark Hughes. 3 major influences in the life of Mark Hughes. First was health and nutrition. Second, person-to-person marketing. Then the 3rd major influence in the life of Mark Hughes, I was happy to bring this idea. Here's what it's called: simply personal development. In that first seminar, here's what I shared with Mark. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. You don't have to work on the marketplace, you only have to work on yourself to become more valuable and learn the skills. Let me give you a list of those skills that I learned that you can learn in Herbalife that can change your life. Here they are. Number 1, getting customers. Age 25, I knew how to milk cows, didn't pay very well. Getting customers. First skill I learned besides milking cows, and it helped to change my life, starting part-time. Next skill I learned, finding good people. You just have to search. If you search, what? You will find. Finding is reserved for the searchers, not for the hopers, not for those who wish, but for those who search. And you've had enough information here already today to go back and increase your skill and ability to search until you find good people. The next key I learned that changed my life, a unique skill called promotion. Alan Lorenz is probably the best. He knows all the dates and he knows all the meetings. He almost has the world calendar in his head. It's amazing. Learn how to promote. But here's the secret I learned in promotion. Be so busy giving recognition to others, you really don't need it for yourself. Next, the skill that I learned during those formative years of being a distributor, and that's communication. Getting people to work together. An ancient scripture says, if 2 or 3 agree on a common purpose, nothing is impossible. I'll give you time to write that down, translate it in Spanish and whatever other language is going on here today. Here's what it says: if 2 or 3 agree on a common purpose, nothing is impossible. It was so exciting for me 19 years ago when Mark said, Jim, travel the world with me. We'll build the finest leadership team in the world. We'll someday influence the health and nutrition industry. And if we do it right, we can positively affect the lives of millions of people. Right. Not 1,000 of us, just 2 or 3 to start. And then 2 or 3 became 2 or 300, and 2 or 300 became 2 or 3,000. And 2 or 3,000 became 2 or 300,000. And 200,000 or 300,000 became 2 million. And finally we arrive here today. Just 2 or 3 to start. If 2 or 3 agree, the power of just 2 or 3, doesn't need to be 2,000 or 3,000 to start. Doesn't need to be 200,000 or 300,000 to start. Just 2 or 3 who agree. In your community, in your organization, get 2 or 3 and start working together. Here's the most important on communication: learning to inspire. Helping people see themselves better than they are. Helping people see the future. Helping people see not just with their eyes, but help them to see with their mind, insight. Helping people to see the vision of the future. That's what Mark brought us when he started the company. And those 20 years he was with us, he helped us to see the future. Seeing with your eyes we call sight. Seeing with your imagination we call insight. Next, help people to see the possibilities. Describe to them the potential, what's available. Using testimonials. There's so many testimonials now, people that started with nothing. But here's the next one, which I'm trying to do a bit of as we finish here today. And that's called teaching. And I've just used 2 words just to separate the two. Training, showing somebody how the business works. Teaching is showing somebody how life works. The inspiration of stories, the inspiration of testimonials. It inspired me to spend the rest of my life. When I met my teacher, Mr. Schoaf, he said to me, "Mr. Rohn, show me your current list of goals and let's go over them and talk about them." He said, "I've been around a long time. I can probably give you some good advice." And I said to him, "I don't have a list." He said, "Mr. Rohn, if you don't have a current list of your goals," he said, "I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s, which he did. And that got my attention. I said, "You mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals?" He said, "Drastically." I said, "Then I'm ready to learn how to set goals." He taught me, and it changed my life, how to set goals. So I'm asking you not only just to be a trainer, I'm asking you to be a teacher. Teach somebody leadership skills. Teach somebody communication skills. So we need life skills and business skills, and you can learn to do both, even if you're fairly new. When Mark had been in business about 2.5 years, he had plenty of money and he could have quit. Then why did he invest all those years? From the time he made enough to retire, he kept on going until finally he died age 44. Why would he continue to do that? Here's why. He became financially independent so that he could then work for joy and not for necessity. I had that happy opportunity when I met Mark, because I didn't need the money, but I did need the joy. I did need the challenge. And that's what's been exciting for me, to work here, not for the money, but for the joy. One of the most important things I learned in building my business, here it is. As many distributors, as many customers as possible to represent each distributor, and as many distributors as possible to represent each supervisor volume. As many customers as possible to represent the distributor, as many distributors as possible to represent the supervisor volume. And under personal development, learning the skills, here's what I learned building my own organization. Learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. Because that's the way life works. Life doesn't respond to what we need. Life responds to what we deserve. It doesn't say if you need a harvest, you'll get one. It says, no, if you plant in the spring, you'll get a harvest in the fall. Then here's the next key. Show people how to deserve your time. Work with the people who deserve it, but show them how to deserve your time, your attention, your information. Next. It's so important to get people to be independent as soon as possible. We call them independent distributors, but it seems like at first they're very dependent. And they are dependent on getting proper information, being properly inspired, helping them to set goals. But as quickly as possible, show them what they can do on their own that will start helping to establish them as a true independent distributor. It's a great gift that you can give them. Here's what's next. Learn to make wise decisions. Wise decisions about yourself, your organization, your family, your future. Here's what I've learned to do. Discipline your disappointment. Especially if it's someone you know and they try so little when they need to do it so much. I learned sometimes those that need it the most are inclined the least. Those that should, don't. Those that could, won't. Here's what we call that, mysteries of the mind. I don't know. Because I used to try to make everybody successful, found out that was impossible. I said, I'll make them successful if it kills me. I almost died, so I gave that up. Do your best to teach and inspire and instruct, and then just see what happens. Let yourself be surprised. You can help 1,000, but you can't carry 3 on your back. Just make that note. You can help 1,000, but you can't carry 3. So let me give you this quick list now as I wrap it up. Here's the first one. Have some patience, Mark said. Patience to work with a variety of personalities. Some customers are easy, and some are a pain. Some distributors are easy, and some are a pain. Have the patience, do the best you can. I know sometimes patience finally runs out, but until then, do the best you can. Here's what else I learned. Mark Hughes knew it. All prospects are equal. There's a surprise a day waiting for you, right? When you recruit someone, you think they're going to stay, they leave. Someone you think is going to leave, they stay. Here's what you say in both instances. Isn't that interesting? I thought sure they were going to stay. They left. I thought sure they were going to leave. They stayed. Next, consistency, day in, day out, Mark taught. Integrity, to maintain the company's reputation for the future so that those we recruit today will have a future for tomorrow and ongoing. Maintain Herbalife's integrity and your own integrity to do the right thing. Next, you got to have faith to believe, faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith in the plan, faith in the products. The next word I want to leave with you is courage. Sometimes when it all seems wrong, you just have to stay in there and have courage to stay. Courage in public. Here's some of the most important courage. Courage in private. When you've got nobody to talk to but yourself, have courage to tell yourself the truth. Here's where I really am. Here's what I'm really doing. Here's what's really going on. Here's the big one, courage to forgive. If somebody you've been working with and there seems to be a little tension, things aren't going well, somebody asks you to forgive, do that. Here's the next one, courage to be silent when it's so easy to talk. Next, the courage to risk, like the farmer does every year, planting in the spring. Risk your emotions and your time and your heart. That kind of courage will change your life. Here's the next one, courage to change. If you've gotten some information here already today to make some changes in your program, changes in your thought, changes in your philosophy, how to do the business, make those changes. And to finish, learn the lesson of the seasons. Do the work of summer. Here's what summer's for: to nourish your values like a mother, give them life, to protect them like a father. Next, in the harvest, when it comes, there's 2 things in life that are so important. Number 1, the full development of all your potential. Here's the next one, the wise use of all your resources. And here's the last season to finish. When the winter comes, hopefully you'll be prepared from what you've done before the winter arrives. But the winter of surprise, the winter of death, the winter of illness, the winter of difficulties, make this note, just hang on. You know, the winter cannot last forever. There's never been a double winter. Some are difficult and some are easier. There's never been a double night. The night only lasts for a few hours, and then the day finally dawns and the shadows flee away.